July 2nd, 2016. And we will continue in the study of Daniel. We are now at Daniel 5. All right. Daniel 5. Okay. We did Daniel 4 last 2 weeks. But we still have to, recap it because it flows right into Daniel 5. Because we are at a point where we're understanding Daniel in the sense that Nebuchadnezzar is a type of Belshazzar. So we have to compare Daniel 4 and Daniel 5 and find a conclusion. This is not the way that we used to study it. I really don't remember studying Daniel 4 or 5 very extensively in the past. Boy. And now our understanding goes to the point that we have to compare Daniel's message to Nebuchadnezzar and compare it with Belshazzar, right? Because Daniel 5 is about Belshazzar feast. All right. We'll start with what we did last week. I changed the graphics a little bit. To the last ruler of Babylon, as in type to its first, had come the sentence of the divine watcher. O king, to thee it is spoken. The kingdom is departed from thee. So the message is what? What is the message? The kingdom is departed from thee. And this message is given to the first and to the last ruler of Babylon, because they are a type of each other, right? So when Daniel was speaking to one, he was speaking to the other king, right? This is, obviously we know this is Nebuchadnezzar. Thy kingdom is departed from thee. And right here, Daniel speaking to Belshazzar. Now, how is Belshazzar related to Nebuchadnezzar? He is the grandson, right? Yeah. Daniel gave the message to both kings, right? All right. Let's see.
Daniel served.
Who else had dreams and messages given to them? The Pharaoh, right? The Pharaoh of Joseph had how many dreams? He had 2 dreams. Yeah. One back to back, right? And Nebuchadnezzar also had 2 dreams, right? And Pharaoh of Joseph obeyed, right? Obeyed the prophet, obeyed Joseph, right? And Nebuchadnezzar, eventually obeyed Daniel too, obeyed the God of Daniel. As compared to Belshazzar, who does not obey, and also the Pharaoh of Moses, right? Does not. So these pharaohs are like Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar. Okay. Belshazzar had been given many opportunities for knowing and doing the will of God. He had seen his grandfather Nebuchadnezzar, right? Belshazzar was the foolish king. So if Belshazzar was the foolish king and Nebuchadnezzar is a type of Belshazzar, then Nebuchadnezzar is the wise king. Correct? Right? So Belshazzar is the wise king. So does Belshazzar and Nebuchadnezzar typify United States? Well, in a sense it does. Right.
How could you mean Babylon?
Yeah. Because they remember the tree? Nebuchadnezzar is a tree, a high tree that becomes proud and has to be cut down. And the tree is the tree that gives shadow to the nations, right?
Yes.
So isn't that America?
Yes.
America is going to cut down? So Nebuchadnezzar is a type of America, right? Right. But does Nebuchadnezzar eventually repent?
Yeah.
Yeah. So does America eventually repent? Well, it doesn't make sense there. Yeah. So it's not the complete.
No.
Uh,
Representation.
No, but if you actually have it it's not in parallel. If you have it in consecutive, America used to be good, and then I guess America was Nebuchadnezzar at one time, and then become Belshazzar, right? Yeah.
In the end.
But it works better if it's in parallel because that's line upon line. So there has to be another meaning to Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar. And we realize it's talking about who? It's talking about spiritual Israel, right? It's actually talking about Adventism, right? Yeah. So Nebuchadnezzar is a foolish, and we realize it's going to be a foolish Levite, right? Foolish Levite. I mean, Nebuchadnezzar is the wise Levite, and Belshazzar is the foolish Levite. All right? Okay. This is where we ended last week. And we were going to the part, I made a bunch of notes here. So Nebuchadnezzar represents the wise Levites who go through the binding time between midnight cry and, because if you look at the binding time, his binding time is between midnight cry and Sunday law. So he's a Levite. So Belshazzar also will have to have his binding time here, right? But he does not repent in the end, so he's a foolish Levite. So what happens? At midnight, Daniel will make a prediction, right? And he gives this prediction, and he gives the same thing to Nebuchadnezzar and also to Belshazzar. There's going to be a prediction given right here, right? Jeremiah also gives the prediction, gives the same message. He gives the same message to Josiah and even Zedekiah, right? The kings, right? Daniel predicts the dream. He predicts the dream, and he says, "Your kingdom is going to depart from you here, right? Right here, your kingdom is going to depart right here." He makes a prediction, and it comes true right here. All right, that's correct. Midnight, and then midnight cry. So he makes a prediction, and the prediction comes here true. All right. He interprets the dream by giving a prediction at midnight, stating that Nebuchadnezzar will be cut down as a tree, leaving his kingdom as a stump, right? Held up by iron and brass bands, right? Hew down the tree, and you're going to leave with a stump with iron and brass bands. What does that mean? Your kingdom will be cut down, and there's going to be a remnant. Whatever is a remnant of your kingdom, what is the iron and the brass band? Now, if this is United States, okay, United States is cut down, and there's going to be a stump left over it. Whatever's left of the United States is going to be something with an iron and brass band. How is the stump related to iron and brass band? The stump of United States. What is iron? We think of it as Rome. What is brass? Greece, right? So how is the residua of America related to Rome and Greece in the end time? Here we're talking about end time now. How is it now? Now, Rome is still Babylon. And Greece, what is Greece in the end time? United Nations. So this stump will eventually be given to who? The remnants of America is going to be given to, first United Nations, and then to modern Rome, right? Isn't America is the stump. the leftover stump, is the sixth kingdom. Eventually going to be given to the seventh kingdom and the eighth kingdom, right? They're going to rule together for 1 hour, right? Okay. What if, now that's if it's America. What if it's a Levite?
It's the Levites.
Okay. The Levite is going to be cut down, right? The Levite is going to be cut down. Now, the Levite is going to be cut down, and there's going to be a remnant left over it. And this remnant for some reason, there's going to be a iron and brass band. Remember the book of Jeremiah. We did book of Jeremiah because Jeremiah was preaching to Josiah and also to Zedekiah. And he said, okay, let me go to my note here. Jeremiah 1 verse 18 and 19. Yeah. Right. Jeremiah says that that there is going to be an iron, don't worry, because I will be with you, and you will be as an iron and brass walls that will not fall against the land, the kings of Judah, the princes, the priests, and the people of the land, who will not prevail against you. Meaning, you will be a remnant, right? Right. You will be a remnant. You have to go to Babylon, you will be a remnant there, but you will not fall against the foolish Levites, right? Because it's talking about they will not harm you. God's people that does not want to be part of you is going to fight against you, but you will be like an iron pillar and a brass wall. What are the walls of brass? And there's two walls. What are the two walls?
Of the temple?
No. Right. Because walls is laws.
Laws, okay.
What are the laws? The two
I
laws
was saying.
that is going to support the remnant in the end time. Yeah. The true marriage and the true Sabbath. Right. So why will the foolish Levites, why will the foolish Levite hate you? Because you are the remnant. Because they're a seething pot. Remember, they're a seething pot. And what happens to you? The remnant becomes a what? A budding rod of Aaron. They will become the true priests. Right. And the foolish Levites is going to be a seething pot. Their probation is completely closed. Right. So that's where we kind of left off last week. All right. So here's the question. And this was one of the questions that were brought up at School of Prophets. You're going to make we are going to be Daniels, right? We're going to be making a prediction. We're living right here right now. We're far away from 9/11. We're very close to making a prediction. So we're going to have to make a prediction. And that prediction will come true right here. Right? Remember in Daniel 10, Daniel had a Mara vision, and he was touched 3 times between midnight and midnight cry. He was touched 3 times. At the end of the touches, he actually is able to understand the Chow Zone vision, where he sees the Prince of Persia being defeated by Prince of Grecia. He was able to. When does that happen? Prince of Persia is America, defeated by the United Nations. So he he is able to understand what happens at the Sunday law. Right? Right here, at the midnight cry, he's able to understand what happens at the Sunday law. He will give the prediction, and he gives the prediction. But the thing about it is, he becomes a church triumphant here, and his priesthood is restored. Is his priesthood restored right here, or is it restored right here? Does that make a difference? For you to understand, does that really make a difference whether his priesthood is restored right here? For you to understand Bible prophecy, it does make a big difference whether your priesthood is restored right here. Now, this is the thing that we were talking last night. When you make a prediction, how are you considered to be a true prophet?
If your prediction becomes true.
That's right. When your prediction becomes true. Now, during the Millerite times, who actually gave the first three angels' message, the midnight cry? Samuel Snow, right? Samuel Snow gave it at midnight. At midnight was July 21, 1840, right? That's the 5th day of the 4th month. He gave it at 1844. That's right. Sorry, 1844. July 21, 1844. The 5th day of the 4th month, right? He gave the first. Where was it that he gave it? Do you remember? It was in Boston. Samuel Snow. He gave he basically was talking about Sunday law, just like Daniel. Daniel was, saying what is going to happen. He was at the midnight giving the midnight cry message here. And what happens at the first day of the 5th month? They went to Exeter camp meeting, and he doubled up the message. Then people started to understand it. They did not understand it that much here, but they understood it here. Then they were able to give the midnight cry of the third angel's message, which was about October 22, 1844, the Day of Atonement. All right. So the message was not understood here, but then was understood here. Now, what about Josiah Litch? We're going to study this some more. Josiah Litch. No, Josiah Litch, what did he predict?
August 11, 18.
The Ottoman Empire was going to fall. When did he first give his prediction? 1838. 1838 lines up with midnight. 1838. What did he predict initially? That the Ottoman Empire will fall. What was his prediction? It's about the time. Did he say that it was going to be on a certain date, or did he say it's going to be on a certain month? He said,
Not date yet.
yeah, not date yet. He says, in 1838, he says it's going to happen sometime in August, 1840, right? Sometime in August. And then 10 days before, August 11, which is on August 1, what did he say? It is going to happen exactly on August 11. So he fine-tuned his prediction, right? And it happened exactly on August 11, 1840. So we see that that's how the prediction is going to be. You're going to give a prediction here, but then eventually, when you fine-tune it all the way, and then when it becomes truth, when it turns out that it's true, then you are lifted up, right? You're going to be lifted up like an ensign, right? Okay. One more other thing that it's very important. Deuteronomy 2, verse 24 and 25. I'm just going to read it here. Rise ye up, take your journey, and pass over to the river Arnon. Behold, I have given unto thine hand Sihon, the Amorite, king of Heshbon, and his land. Begin to possess it and contend with him in battle. So he says, rise up and go to battle, right? This day will I begin to put the dread of thee and the fear of thee upon the nations that are under the whole heaven, who shall hear report of thee, and shall tremble and be in anguish because of thee. Where do you rise up? You rise up right here, right? You are risen up. The priests are lifted up right here. Why are they lifted up? Their prediction came true. And what happens to the nations of the world?
Fear.
They have fear and dread of thee. They're going to be fear. Why? Why? Because the prediction came true. Right? Prediction came true. So that's where we were at. Okay? That's essentially came by. Oh, okay. Numbers 12, verse 6. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, the Lord will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. So this is where the prophetic gift is restored right here. And you are going to be lifted up, and you're going to be considered not, you're going to be considered a prophet because you have the prophetic gift now being restored to you, and the dread and the fear of the nations, they're going to fear you because of the prediction came true. All right? Okay. That's basically Daniel 4, kind of like the big summary of it. So we now go to Daniel 5. Daniel 5, verse 1 and 2. Belshazzar the king. So Belshazzar is the king, all right, made a great feast, all right. So we know the feast is prophetically significant to 1,000 of his lords. 1,000 is also, and he drank wine before the 1,000, all right, drinking wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded. So what is that? Commanded. Make a decree to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king, his princess, his wives, and concubines. How many groups of people? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 groups of people might drink therein. All right, so that's the wine, and they drink it out of the gold and silver vessels. Where did the gold and silver vessels come from? It came out of the temple in Jerusalem when Nebuchadnezzar, it says his father. Was Nebuchadnezzar his father?
Grandfather.
It was really his grandfather, right? And I guess in their language they said, your grandfather is your father. Right? So these are the temple articles, right? They took it out and they drank out of it. Okay. All right. So let's see. Where is there a feast? When we go line upon line, do you know any other feasts? Kings making feasts? You know any kings making feasts? Ahasuerus, Esther, there was a feast. What about Pharaoh? Did Pharaoh have a feast? Oh, it's raining. Yeah. Did Pharaoh has a feast? Yeah, Pharaoh had a feast, remember? And his butler and the baker, right? Yeah, remember his feast? It had a birthday. He had a birthday feast, right? Yeah, who also had a feast? Herod had a feast. His feast is, you go to Mark 6:21. On his birthday, he made a supper. He had a birthday supper, He's a little bit more civilized.
Birthday.
Yeah, a dinner party.
Dinner party.
Feast maybe not.
Mark 6:21. But obviously that's a feast also. Who also had a feast? Remember the story of Nabal and Abigail? Yeah. Nabal had a feast, right? So which is the feast? And all these feasts happen on either Sunday law or midnight cry. I mean midnight cry, you know. So where it fits kind of depends on the context. What about 1,000? What does 1,000 mean? Yeah. Prophetically, 1,000 can also mean 100. 100 can also mean 10. So you can also think of the 10 virgins. He called the 1,000 to come and have a feast. The virgins are gathered. What about the 4 groups of people? Kings, princes, wives, concubines. What about the 4 groups? What does the 4 mean? At this time, the 4th generation,
Oh,
right? What is the 4th generation? The final generation. We're talking about the final generation of Levites here. There is no more.
After that.
Yeah, there's no more. Okay. All right. Gold and silver vessels. Yeah, gold and silver vessel. We'll go into a little bit more about the gold and silver vessels. But anyway, there's a decree and a feast. All right. Through the folly and weakness of Belshazzar, the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar, right? Ellen White said that Belshazzar is the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar. Proud Babylon was soon to fall, admitted in his youth to share in kingly authority. Okay. Admitted in his youth to share in kingly authority. What does that mean? What Ellen White here, it is very obvious that Belshazzar actually was a co-regent. He was king together with his father. Yeah. I
so
only
his father.
he reigned with his father, right?
The father, not the grandfather.
No, with his father.
His father.
All right. So this Ellen White actually wrote this. This is why Ellen White's writing is, it's a spark notes for the Bible. If you read the Bible, you're gonna get confused because you have no clue. You're so blinded. Ellen White is your spark notes for the Bible. Yeah. Babylon had co-rulers. It's a 2-horned kingdom. Oh, I can't believe this. Yeah. Right. Okay. Belshazzar gloried in his power and lit up his heart against the God of heaven. Many had been his opportunities to know the divine will and to understand his responsibility of rendering obedience hereto. So Babylon at that time was a 2-horned kingdom. Was talking about America also. All right. Okay. All right. So we'll go here. There's a king's feast. We'll put it at 9/11, right? Because Daniel had to come in later, right? First they had to have a feast. And then there was a writing on the wall, and Daniel came in. So Daniel had to come in either here or here. So meaning that the feast has to start here. We can't put it here because then Daniel had to come here. That doesn't make sense because then Daniel would be at the Nethinims. It has to come here. So this is the king's feast at 9/11. Was there a decree at 9/11? Obviously, we know there's a decree, right? Is spiritual Israel drinking the wine of Babylon at 9/11?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're drinking all the doctrines of Babylon, right?
Spiritualism.
Oh yeah, spiritual formation, Trinity, you name it. What about the 1,000? Well, that's the 10, right? The 10 virgins are called. The thousands are called to come to the feast. Gold and silver. They use the utensils, gold and silver cups. All right, we'll go into this a little bit more. The four groups are the fourth generation, the last generation. All right. Okay. Now we'll go into more history here. The last seven kings of... Wait a minute. This is not the last seven kings. This is all the kings of Babylon. Right? The first king of Babylon is Nabopolassar. So when Ellen White says the first king of Babylon is Nebuchadnezzar, why did she say that? Because, it has something to do with the fact that Nebuchadnezzar was the first one that had to deal with the Jews. So prophetically, Nebuchadnezzar is the first king. But truthfully, by history, Nabopolassar is the first king of Babylon. And then Nebuchadnezzar is the son of Nabopolassar. Right? I put an S right there. And then Nebuchadnezzar has a son named Evil-Merodach. So that Evil-Merodach is the son of Nebuchadnezzar. And then the next king is Neriglissar, which is the brother-in-law of Evil-Merodach, because Evil-Merodach was killed. So, and his brother-in-law became king. And then he only reigned for 2 or 3 years. And then his son, Labo-Soarkad, reigned for 9 months. He's the son of Neriglissar. And then he was killed. He was killed. He was beaten to death. And then his uncle, which is the brother-in-law of Neriglissar, Nabonidus, becomes king. Nabonidus becomes king, and he reigns for about 16 to 17 years.
Is that Belshazzar's?
This is Belshazzar's father. And Belshazzar becomes king. And he ruled, and he's the one that lost Babylon. Now, according to history, it was Nabonidus that lost the kingdom. In the history of the Greeks, when you read the history of Greeks that was written, the one that lost the kingdom was not Belshazzar.
Not Belshazzar.
As a matter of fact, they said, the Bible is not true, because there's no such thing as a king named Belshazzar. There's no Belshazzar in the histories. It was Nabonidus that lost the kingdom. All right.
That's the
But
parade
he
with
shared.
Nabonidus?
Right. We'll go into this a little bit more, all right?
Yeah.
The thing about it is that this is all proven in the cuneiforms.
Yes.
Because before the cuneiforms were there, we only relied on the Greeks.
You're right.
And the Greeks wrote, there's no such king as Belshazzar.
They have
So people say, yeah, you know what? We believe in the history. The Bible is not true. There's no such thing as Belshazzar. Wait a minute, that's not true, because eventually the cuneiforms will vindicate the Bible. And this is the canon of Ptolemy. The canon of Ptolemy, Nabopolassar, Nebuchadnezzar, Evil-Merodach, Neriglissar, and Nabonidus. The canon of Ptolemy does not even mention Belshazzar or Labo-Soarkad. Labo-Soarkad he reigned on 9 months, so he's not included in the canon, because the canon of Ptolemy only includes those who reign for more than 1 year. Now, the Bible says that Daniel had a vision in the first year of Belshazzar, and Daniel also had the vision of Daniel 8 in the third year of Belshazzar. Wait a minute, how could Belshazzar must have reigned longer. The problem is that his father was still king also. So he's not counted here, right? So we'll go into this a little bit more. You're going to be able to defend this. All these inconsistencies that you think there is, it's going to be proven by the cuneiforms. I find this very incredible. Because all these confusions people will start doubting the Bible. Okay. We did this when we did Daniel 11.
Yeah.
Remember? Daniel 11? And this is James Ussher. James Ussher wrote, way back in the 1500s. And he's from the king, the Church of England, or the Church of England, or Church of Scotland. The Church of Scotland. So he based his history on the writings of Herodotus. Herodotus is a Greek historian. But what he did was he used Bible verses to corroborate what Herodotus wrote. Okay. When Cyrus had subdued Asia Minor, right here, he immediately made war on the Assyrians. He went against Assyria. And he marched his army against Nabonidus, or Nabonidus, their king. Remember Nabonidus? Nabonidus is the father of Nebuchadnezzar. Belshazzar, sorry. Right. So he went war, according to Herodotus, he went to war against Nabonidus. Then you go, hey, wait a minute. Isn't the last king Belshazzar? How come Cyrus went to war against Nabonidus? The news of this came to Babylon 2 full years before the city was besieged. And now he quotes, look at Jeremiah 51:46. When Cyrus was marching toward Babylon, he was delayed at the river Nidus, which runs into the Tigris. So here's Tigris. So he runs into Opis right there. For want of boats, he could not cross over it. While he stayed there, one of the white horses, which were consecrated to the sun, went into the river and drowned. Cyrus was furious about this event and stopped his march to Babylon. That summer, he had the river divided into 360 channels. He intended to make it so that a woman may pass through it and not get her knees wet. So this is according to the Greek historian Herodotus. So, some people kind of think, wow, that's kind of incredible. How would he know that? Because he lived maybe 100, 200 years after Babylon fell. Medo-Persia fell, because he was Greek, right? Right. So let's read Jeremiah 51:45-47. My people, go ye out of the midst of her. Come out of Babylon, and deliver your soul, lest your heart faint. Ye fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that in another year come a rumor. How many years was it, the rumors that the Medo-Persians are coming to conquer Babylon? You got to get out of Babylon? 2 years. That's right. So the Bible actually corroborates, well, I guess history corroborates the Bible. So 539 BC, the next year, Cyrus marched to Babylon. Cyrus this is what Herodotus, what James Ussher said. Here, Cyrus defeated Belshazzar or Nabonidus. So he got confused.
Yeah.
He thinks that Nabonidus is actually Belshazzar. Now, this is before the cuneiforms, right? The Chaldeans retreated into the city and resolved to endure a siege, which they took lightly for 2 reasons. First, they had more than 20 years of provisions. Oof. Secondly, they thought there were many of the Cyrus armies that would favor the Chaldeans more than the Persians, because they had a lot of mercenaries. Cyrus made a vast trench around the wall of the city. He cast up the earth towards his own army and made bulwarks along it. All right? Okay. What did, Jeremiah 27, 28, and 30. The mighty men of Babylon had forborne to fight. They didn't want to fight anymore. They had remained in their holes. Their might have failed. They became as women. Ooh, they don't want to fight anymore. They have burned their dwelling place. Her bars are broken. So they retreated in their city, and they said, okay, you want to come and fight? You can't break down the walls anyway. So we're not going to even fight you, because you can't bring down our walls anyway. Besides, we have 20 years of provision inside our walls. Medo-Persian. He's Persian,
Yeah.
right? Cyrus is Persian. Iranian,
Yeah.
right? Medo-Persia, this is way before the Greeks. This is Medo-Persia. So when Cyrus had spent much time in this work with little to show for it, at last he made a ditch from the river to that vast lake, which was 300 or 400 furlongs, which is 40 to 50 miles wide. So what he did, there's this river that goes in and it flows right through Babylon, right? So what did he do? He wanted to capture Babylon, but Babylon is so strong, he cannot even go through the walls. The walls are so thick, he cannot go through it. So what did he do? He diverted the river into a ditch, which was a vast lake, a huge lake that Belshazzar's mother, Nicotris, had dug this lake and opened the mouth of this and other ditch which he had newly built about the city, and let the river flow into them. So he made a ditch and let that river flow into that lake. Now this lake happened to have been built by Nicotris. Nicotris is the Belshazzar's mother. So Nicotris is the wife of Nabonidus, right? Why did Nicotris dig a lake and a ditch? Why did he build a lake? As a matter of fact, Herodotus wrote it. Herodotus said that the Euphrates River used to be straight, running right into Babylon. But the thing is that Medo-Persia was becoming very strong, so they knew that Medo-Persia will eventually attack them. So to do that, they realized that they're going to come from the north. They'll come from the north. So what they did, Nicotris did, he made the river winding, so that they had to go through many rivers to get to them. It used to be straight. Now she made it winding. Yeah. And to make it winding, she had to dig a lake to divert the lake, the water into that lake, so she can make the river winding. And as a matter of fact, while she was doing that, she was able to build a bridge across Babylon. So Babylon was like this, the river right in the middle of it, and there's no bridge. So while the river was dry, she was able to make a bridge, and that bridge is Nicotris Bridge. And they found the bridge. Yeah, when they were digging in Babylon, they said, "Oh, look at this bridge." They found that bridge. This is a bridge of Nicotris. Anyway, they found it. So Nicotris, and this became their own downfall, because when they found that, hey, let's do the same thing. We'll just dry up this river, right? And that the passages are stopped. See Jeremiah 51. When was Jeremiah 51 written? Just think of Jeremiah. Jeremiah was the prophet to Josiah, all the way to Zedekiah. And they had to stay in Babylon for 70 years. And that happened at the 70 years. So Jeremiah was written about 100 years before. And Jeremiah predicted what was going to happen when Babylon fell. Right?
Jeremiah was in Babylon.
No, Jeremiah, Jerusalem. So remember, he's the one that stayed behind. He was cast into the dungeon, and he had to buy the land. And he says, "Oh, no, don't worry. I'm going to buy this land. You guys are going to come back. I'm going to buy this land."
Yeah.
Right? Remember? Yeah.
Everybody was leaving, he's buying.
Yeah. So what are we? You're going to go to slavery and you're buying land? What's happening? But he stayed behind.
So Babylon is part of Iraq.
Babylon is part of Iraq. Yeah. Yeah. And the passengers are stopped, and the reeds they have burned with fire, and the men of war are affrighted. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will plead thy cause, and take vengeance for thee, and I will dry up her sea, and make her springs dry. So they dried up Euphrates. Cyrus with his army went through the water gates in the wall and got into the city on a festival day while all the men were at banquets, right? So vast was the city that, as the inhabitants reported, when the outskirts of it were surprised and taken by the enemy, though they who dwelt in the heart of the city never heard of it. It was so big. And that was actually predicted, Jeremiah 51. One post shall run to meet another. One soldier shall run to meet one another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon that his city is taken at the other end. Right? Is it? It's already predicted that's going to happen. In their heart I will make their feasts, and I will make them drunken, that they may rejoice and sleep a perpetual sleep, and not wake, saith the Lord. And I will make drunk her princes and her wise men, her captains, her rulers, and her mighty men. Wow. So this was already predicted of what's going to happen. Okay. So we know all of this, but is this proven by the cuneiforms? So now this is when it gets interesting, because finding the cuneiform, you realize that the cuneiforms were not deciphered until the 1900s.
Yes.
Yeah. Because they started discovering in the 1850s. They said, oh, we can actually understand this. They started learning how to read it. And then these cuneiforms were not until the 1920s and all this before they figured it out, what it all meant. And there's a cuneiform, there's a cylinder called the Nabonidus cylinder from Ur. Ur is Babylon, I guess. Yeah. It's in the British Museum. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is the one. No, this is a different one. This one has a picture. This is so famous. This is very famous.
It's not made out of wood.
No, it's
Stone.
no. It's either it's gotta be clay, because you make a stamp onto it, or you carve it out of stone. But here now it says, as for me, Nabonidus, king of Babylon, save me from sinning against your great Godhead, and grant me as a present life long of days. As for Belshazzar, the eldest son, my offspring. So he says right here in the cuneiform says that Belshazzar is the son of Nabonidus. Because in the history of the Greeks, they did not even recognize Belshazzar. As a matter of fact, James Ussher thought that Nabonidus was Belshazzar, right? But then the cuneiforms were deciphered, and the cuneiform says that Nabonidus is the father of Belshazzar, right? Okay. Oh no, she was not a historian. She wrote what was inspired, and that's why she wrote that Belshazzar was co-regent, right? Because in her time, they didn't know who Nabonidus and Belshazzar were.
They didn't have the cuneiforms.
They don't have the cuneiforms either.
So it's the spirit.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, Uriah Smith basically copies James Ussher and the Greek historians, right? Cyrus had set apart the king's house and all his palaces in Babylon, so that if he should come to Babylon, he would have a place for him to stay in. The angel in his first year of his reign is said to have confirmed and strengthened him in his kingdom. After this, he is said to have reigned for 2 years. So when he conquered Babylon, what did he do? He set up a palace so that he can go there and visit it. Why is that significant? Because who became the king of Babylon? He's the king of the empire. Who becomes the king in the city of Babylon? His own uncle, which is Darius the Mede. Who's Darius the Mede? He's the Darius that threw Daniel in the lion's den. Right. Remember that? Yeah. Because Cyrus is the king of the whole empire. Right. But he had to set up somebody in Babylon. And that one in Babylon is called the king. He's not the real king of the whole. He's the king of Babylon. Right? And it was his own uncle that he put there. Right? Okay.
Because Cyrus is Persian.
He's Persian,
Yeah.
right.
So he had to have somebody in Babylon.
Yeah, Darius the Mede was his uncle.
Yeah.
But he's a Mede.
Yeah.
Because they're Medo-Persian. They're
Persian,
they're a two-horned kingdom. All right, yeah. So now you get the stories, you know. Oh, by the way, that was what of Cyrus. There's another. Now this is the Nabonidus Chronicle in British Museum. Now this is the reverse of this. So when you flip this over, this is what you see in the back, and you can read. This was eventually deciphered in 1924. And according to whoever deciphered this, his name is Amelie Kurt, describe it as the most reliable and sober account of the fall of Babylon. Yeah, because all we had was kind of like the story of Herodotus, and the story of Herodotus is kind of almost like a fairy tale. You know what? You know, yeah, you know, like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna dry this so that a woman can walk in. You know, that doesn't sound like history. That sounds like a children's story or something like that. Yeah, it's right. Okay, so what does the Nabonidus Chronicle tell us about the fall of Babylon? This is after it's deciphered. Remember, this was deciphered in the 1920s. In the month of Tisri, when Cyrus attacked the army of Akkad, remember the Akkadians? They were north. In Opis, remember I thought Opis? Which was another city north of it, right? On the Tigris. The inhabitants of Akkad revolted, but he, Cyrus, massacred the inhabitants. The 15th day, which is 12th of October, this is 538 or 539. Sipar was seized without battle. Nabonidus fled. Wait a minute. See, Nabonidus fled. This is Nabonidus, obviously, it's not Belshazzar. Right. Nabonidus fled. The 16th day, Gobrias, the governor of Gitium, and the army of Cyrus entered Babylon without battle. Is it true? Did he enter without battle? Right, because they were all partying. Right? All he did was just dry up the river and they came in without battle. Afterward, Nabonidus was arrested in Babylon when he returned there. Right? So Nabonidus, he was the king, but he was away. He was not in Babylon because who was in Babylon? His son, Belshazzar. It was the co-regent. He was there. Till the end of the month, the shield-carrying Gutians were staying within Esagila. Esagila is the ziggurat. Remember? There's always a ziggurat in Babylon. They have like a temple mound. But nobody carried arms in Esagila and its buildings. The correct time for a ceremony was not missed. Right. In the month of Arasama, the third day, October 29, Cyrus entered Babylon. These people are so meticulous in their what you can know exactly on what date.
Yeah.
Even 539 BC, you know to the exact date. When did Babylon fall? October 29. Unidentified objects were filled before him. Oh, what was it? No. This is the river. The river was filled before him, right? So they cannot decipher what it says. Yeah, but it's got to be the river. Because Cyrus entered Babylon with the river filled before him. The state of peace was imposed in the city. Cyrus sends greeting to all Babylon. Gobrias, his governor, installed sub-governors in Babylon. Right? His own uncle. Marduk, the great Lord, guardian of his people, looked into gladness upon his good deeds and upright heart. He ordered him to go to his city Babylon. He set him on the road to Babylon like a companion and a friend. He went at his side. Okay, all right. He made him enter his city Babylon without fighting or battle. The God made Cyrus enter Babylon without fighting. Marduk saved Babylon from hardship. He delivered Nabonidus, the king who did not revere Marduk, into his hands. All the people of Babylon, all the land of Sumer and Akkad, princes and governor, bowed to him and kissed his feet. They rejoiced as his kinship. Now, the reason why he attacked Babylon was because Nabonidus did not revere Marduk. In other cuneiforms, it is written that Nabonidus decided that he is going to go to a place in Arabia for 10 years. He went to Arabia in 10 years, and there he created a new religion. And he no longer served the gods. He started worshiping another god there. And he left his kingdom for his son to reign for 10 years. That's why he was co-regent for 10 years. That's why Belshazzar did not only reign in 539, he reigned for 10 years. That's why there's a first year and a third year of Belshazzar, right? Because he was co-regent, right? And he went into the desert somewhere in Arabia, and he reigned there. I mean, he kind of like, he's still the king, but his son reigned in Babylon. Okay. All right. You know I have to go into a little bit of genealogy.
That's why I was wondering on the dates.
Yeah. Because he was co-regent,
Yeah.
right? That's why...
Since last week I was wondering why.
I've been reading.
Yeah. You're reading about that, it gets confusing. When you put this all together, oh, this is why. This is what happened. He was king for 7 years, and then he went into into the desert, and he let his son become king for 10 years, and then he came back. When he came back, Babylon was captured. After Babylon was captured, he came into Babylon, and then they captured him. Right. So this is Nabopolassar. Remember who's Nabopolassar? The father of Nebuchadnezzar, and the wife is Rustam. When you read cuneiforms, now you know the whole history now. And the son is Nebuchadrezzar, right? He's the son. Yeah, Nebuchadrezzar, right? Nebuchadrezzar married Nitakert of Egypt. She's the daughter of Pharaoh Necho II, and the half-sister of the Pharaoh of Egypt, right? You marry somebody, the princess of another country, right? You always marry the princess of another country when you're a king. Yeah, that way you make alliances. And then he married another princess, Amethyst of Media. So he with the Medo Persians of Media. And this is Amethyst of Media is actually the daughter of the king of Media, right? Which is like Medo Persia, Media, right? Media. And with her, he had 4 children: Amel Marduk, Iana Sharusur, Marduk Shamusur, Meshesib Marduk. Right. So there's 4. Because Marduk is their god, right? Marduk. So they named their name.
The sons are Marduk.
Yeah. The Babylonians named their children according to their gods. That's why they changed they changed the Israelites' boys to their gods' names, right? Yeah. Okay. Now, with this, with the Egyptian wife, he had Amel Marduk. This Amel Marduk is called Evil Merodach.
Oh, Evil Merodach.
So this is Evil Merodach, right?
He must be evil.
This one is evil Merodach. All right. With this, he's half Egyptian.
Yeah.
Right. This is evil Merodach, that he only reigned for 2 years. And then he was killed. And now evil Merodach had 2 sisters. One is called Netakert, which is almost like Netakert right there.
Their mother.
And which is called Nitocris. Remember Nitocris? The one that made
The lake.
made the lake. Right. This sister is married to Neriglissar. Neriglissar so became king. So first king here, king here, king here. This one was killed, and his brother-in-law became king.
Became king.
Right, right. Now this Nergal-Sharezer is in the Bible, because Nergal-Sharezer is in Jeremiah 39 as being one of the princes. Obviously, he's a princess, right? Because when Nebuchadnezzar attacked Jerusalem, one of his princes, which is Neriglissar, which is Nergal-Sharezer, was one of the princes that attacked Zedekiah and take out the eyes of Zedekiah.
He was the one who plucked out his eyes.
Right. So he was actually one of the favorite prince of Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah. And Neriglissar was also the prince that, right, in Jeremiah 39 verse 14, right, he took Jeremiah out of the court of the prison and committed him unto Gedaliah the son of Ahikam, so that he should carry him home. So he dwelt among the people. So he actually saved Jeremiah out of the prison. Because remember, he was set in prison when at the time of Zedekiah. He was set into like a ditch, or not a ditch, kind of like anyway, the prison was inside the ground, and it was in a dungeon, right? So he actually took out Jeremiah, right? So Neriglissar is in the Bible. Evil Merodach is in the Bible. Obviously, this is in the Bible too. Nabonidus is the father. It's not mentioned in the Bible, right? Right. So Nabonidus becomes king after. Oh no, hold on. Neriglissar has a son. His name is Labosoarkad, and he only reigned for 9 months. He was killed, and then his uncle, I guess uncle-in-law, which is, this is it is the uncle, because Nabonidus was the one that married Nitocris. Nitocris is the one that built the lake, right? And Nabonidus has a son named Belshazzar, right? So you will see this is kind of like king, 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 king. Do you see a pattern here that for some reason looks familiar? I looked at this and I go, wait a minute. This looks very familiar.
Judah.
The kings of Judah. Oh, the kings of Judah. This looks very familiar. Why does this look very familiar? Okay, all right.
Same genealogy.
It looks very familiar. All right. Now Isaiah 14 verse 22. Now Isaiah is even further back than Jeremiah. Yeah. Isaiah predicted the fall of Babylon. For I will rise up against them, says the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, says the Lord. Okay, I will cut off the name, the remnant, the son, and the nephew. So who are these 4 that are cut off? Okay, let's look at this. Okay, this is Nebuchadnezzar, right? Yes. Nebuchadnezzar has a son named Evil Merodach, right? And Evil Merodach's brother-in-law is Neriglissar, and he has another brother-in-law who went into Egypt, into Arabia for 10 years, become a remnant there somehow, right? That's why I keep telling you, he's the one that went to Arabia for 10 years. Right? Okay. So who's the name? Figure this out. Who's the name? Who's the remnant? Who's the son? And who's the nephew? These one. Okay, between all these, which ones are the name, the remnant, the son, and the nephew?
The son is Belshazzar.
The son is Belshazzar.
The name is Nebuchadnezzar.
No. Okay. All right. Because I know for sure Nabonidus is the remnant because he's the one that went out. He went out.
The son is Moshe.
The nephew
Is that would be.
Because these are the last four. It's got to be the last four. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Is Amil Marduk. 1, 2, 3, 4.
You know, I had to figure this out. You know, the School of Prophets didn't do this. I had to,
No, they don't know.
I actually had to do this by myself. Maybe some, before, obviously this was already known. Our pioneers probably knew this. But I had to figure this out. Okay, so who's the son?
The nephew
Nebuchadnezzar
of
is.
Nebuchadnezzar is
Labashi Marduk.
Oh, the son.
Nabonidus.
All right. This is the name, okay? I figured this out finally. After a while, it took me a while. This is the name because he's the one that conquered the last king of Judah, and he plucked out the eyes. Right. Neriglissar is the name, right? Neriglissar, and then this is the remnant. Nabonidus, he was the remnant, and this is the son because he's the son of Neriglissar, right? And this is the nephew because he's the nephew of Neriglissar, is he not?
So Nebuchadnezzar is
He's the name.
why Nebuchadnezzar?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's why it's a riddle. It's a riddle, and that's the Bible. It says, there's going to be 4 kings
Nebuchadnezzar is the name.
because it fits. It doesn't fit any other way
His nephew is Belshazzar.
How?
because that's how it fits.
No, what verse tell it like?
Because it doesn't fit any other way.
Any other way, yeah. That's
You
the
cannot
one.
fit it any other way because this is the remnant. Right away, you know that this is remnant. It's like solving a puzzle.
Your clue is the remnant.
And this is the son, and this is this could be the son, or this could be the nephew. Then this can't be the remnant.
Now, because if you base it on the remnant, you couldn't have Belshazzar and Labashi Marduk as the name.
Right.
So that leaves him to be the name.
Yeah, this leaves him to the name. So I solved it by knowing first that Nabonidus is the
That's when I
remnant.
was looking at it, you were saying.
Well, how about the son and the
only-
nephew because it can be interchangeable.
Yeah, I know.
the
But it
two
won't
can
fit.
be, yeah.
It won't fit. It has to
The
be
two can be, but
this. Once you solve that this is the remnant,
if
then
you base it on the remnant, this two cannot be the name.
Right.
It has to be in a regressor.
Right.
But the two can be
If you
interchanged.
know that the remnant is Nabonidus.
That's right.
Yeah.
The only way,
That's
you know.
your clue.
So
It's
it's
the
not
only-
that the
it's the only
name
one
is
that
because he
And that the
killed
name
Zedekiah.
is higher
No,
than the son and the
no, it's not that. It's that's not his. It just so happened that he's the one that basically conquered
Killed
Zedekiah.
the last,
So
yeah.
that's
And-
the last one.
The last
Yeah.
king, yeah.
The king that killed the last, or got rid of the last
Yeah.
kingdom is
Now remember that I said it's very familiar with the what? With
Kings of Judah.
kings of Judah. All right. The last 4 kings of Judah. Here's what? Here.
the remnant.
Jehoiakim. No.
Jerusalem. Israel.
Yeah. The last 4 kings. Jehoahaz, Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, and Zedekiah. All right. Solve the puzzle. Who's the remnant? Who's the name? Who's the son? And who's the nephew?
Now, who left? So basically, who's the remnant?
Zerubbabel.
Who left?
Who left?
Who left?
Yeah,
So it might be the remnant. Zedekiah is the one
No,
that left.
no. Who's the remnant?
Zerubbabel is the remnant.
No. This is Jehoahaz, Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, and
Zedekiah.
Zedekiah.
Zedekiah left.
No, who's the remnant?
He's the
You
remnant.
have to base it on the remnant.
Yeah, just remember the story. Remember the story. Who is the remnant?
Yeah, you have to base it on the remnant.
Jehovah
Who's the
Chin.
Jerubabel's father? It's Jehoiachin.
No, you're only talking about those four.
About yeah, it has to be the last four.
Yeah. Who got cut off?
Jehoiachin.
Who got cut off?
Is that a guy?
You know, this was a little tougher for me. Oh boy, it took me a long time to figure this out. But
I can't recall who left.
the remnant, I figured out who the remnant is because all these three, Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, and Zedekiah, was conquered by
Oh yeah, they're
Babylon.
They're kind of like sub.
This one,
Oh.
Shalom State.
Jehoahaz, he was conquered by Egypt. And what happened to him? He got taken to Egypt.
Oh, so he's the remnant.
He is the remnant.
He's the remnant. I don't
But
recall.
because he did not go to Babylon. He's the only one of the four that did not go to Babylon. So I said, okay, this is the remnant. Okay, it's just there. So who's the name? So his name is Zedekiah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, if the name is
Cut off
Zedekiah,
the name.
right.
So Zedekiah was cut off.
yeah, is it the name? This is the remnant.
So who's the
Now,
son?
why is he
Who's
the son? You know, he's the son. You know, this one is tough because I said, well, he's got to be son because he is the son. He's the son of Josiah, right?
So Jehovah
But he is not.
is the nephew.
No, and then he is the nephew because he's the nephew,
You just have to know who the remnant.
right? Once you figure out this is the remnant and this is the nephew, well, so for me, Jehoiakim, well, is he the son? Well, he is the son, right? But he's the son of Josiah.
So who's the father of Jerubabel?
The father of Zerubbabel is actually Pedaiah,
Pedaiah.
the physical father.
Yeah.
But genealogically, Salatiel is the father.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, why is it the same? Why is the fall of Judah and the fall of Babylon the same? Why did we go through all of that and realize that they're the same?
The line upon
Right, yeah, it's line upon line, but why?
The Lord give you a hint of the time and the DNA. Like,
No. There's something a little, it's prophetic. It's prophetic.
You know, remember, because,
Do they fall at the same time?
yes,
When?
well,
That's son-in-law.
Sunday law. They both fall at the Sunday law.
there you are. I was thinking
Yeah.
that is the thing that they,
Right? They fall. That's why it's the same fall because they both fall at the Sunday law.
Exists after the son-in-law.
Wow.
so it's always that. So I was thinking of
Right?
national apostasy.
So spiritual is
Spiritually.
the fall of the Sunday law and also the
Wait, who is modern Babylon?
Modern
Because
Babylon?
there's Adventism and then who else?
Rome.
Who's the other one?
But you know, modern Babylon is papacy. But remember,
But they continue
Babylon
on.
here is
America.
a two-horn power now.
Yes,
America.
Yeah, because now it's America. Yeah,
America.
because remember, why is it a two-horn power here prophetically?
Because it's
Because Nabonidus
yeah, and the son.
and his son
Son.
both reigned at the same time.
Co-regent.
They were co-regents. And Ellen White also says it in Prophets and Kings that he shared. Remember?
Yeah.
Ellen White said it.
The kingdom. How about in Judah, who's shared?
No, in Judah, I don't think there was. There was some co-regents, but not in these last four.
Spiritual.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it can't.
All right.
Babylon.
yeah.
Think
Anyway.
about the lost.
You know, doing this, I couldn't believe that
It just kind of
it
like
kind of like
light up and pop up, you know, and I, oh.
Aaron
it's
Rod's
set.
is budding.
Yeah.
You know, to me, it's like, wow, I couldn't believe it. It just kind of like opened up, you know. It's quite amazing. Okay, how are we in our time?
Was one.
130.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's. All right, there's one more. Okay, a couple more.
We had 1,000. We haven't-
And Belshazzar, the king, made a great feast. Okay, we have to finish up because we have to know the golden and silver vessels. All right.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
All right, we'll just end up right here. Golden and silver. What are the golden and silver vessels they were drinking out of? What does that mean? We did everything else, but I saved this for this time here. What is the golden? Remember, they were this is the vessels. This is the Lord's vessels. And if they're drinking Babylonian wine out of it, what are they doing?
Mixing wine.
Yeah. Well, this is what they're doing. They're drinking out of the vessels. This is God's vessels, and they're drinking Babylonian wine out of it. What are they doing? For thus says the Lord God of Israel unto me, take the wine cup of this fury. What are they doing? They're filling up their cup of wrath. They are closing their probation. They're already starting to close their probation, right?
Why are there two?
The wank. That we'll do that later, RC. It's gonna be.
Is it two walls, marriage and Sabbath?
No, it's not. But it's we'll save it. I've done this already. It's gonna be. It's quite amazing. I told my brother that Daniel 5 was pretty eye-opening for me. When you study it line upon line, it's quite amazing. So they're closing there by drinking wine of Babylon out of God's cups and utensils. They're closing their probation. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled up, fill to her double. It's double. Okay.
Silver.
I think we'll stop right here because Daniel 5 is very interesting. We have a lot more. It's not we haven't even escaped the second verse of Daniel 5. Right?
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's very, very interesting because when you study line upon line, it is the more sure word of prophecy. Okay. All right. I'm sorry, RC.
I am